I need that song story. I need to know the story behind the song.
I just figured it was something close to cooking. I use it as the background to some of my videos. I was like, hey, let me do something that's on brand.
I never heard that song before.
It's like from I think like the 50s.
Oh, really? So,
Almost switched it to Eminem last second.
oh,
You said-
really?
Wait, you did?
Well, no, when you came in singing
Oh,
Eminem.
I did. I said need.
That's a big jump.
Yeah.
So we have a great guest tonight, and based on the
Buddy.
amount of questions coming in, everybody's excited. Buddy.
Smells my dogs. That's
Come on,
why.
buddy. And it's a topic that it comes up even when we're not doing this topic, right? In terms of food and stuff and nutrition. And it's constantly come up. If we do mental health, if we do cardiology, if we do diabetes, anytime we do anything, this comes up, right? Not surprising. Food is medicine, right? It's not an overstatement. And I'll say something I've said many times, and actually a lot of doctors actually admit this. We get zero training on nutrition. Not 1 minute when I was in school was on nutrition, which is wild when you think about the hours and hours and hours, days, weeks of our life we spent training on pharmacology. But Mo, why don't you take Buddy outside?
Sorry, buddy.
And we get a lot of training on how to medicate people, and we get no training on what's causing the disease itself.
He said, I don't
Hold
want
on.
to.
Time out.
He wants to be part of it. It's crazy that you say that, though, because when we jump into like my whole entire journey with it, that was the most eye-opening thing for me was the medical training. So I don't know if you know Marissa, how she had stage 4 non-Hodgkin lymphoma, all that stuff, which we've talked about. That was what was crazy to me. I was like, so we're not like, why there's high fructose corn syrup in this hospital food and like all this stuff. So continue.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think having someone who has, spends their life on making sure folks are provided and informed around healthy eating is probably the single, in my opinion, the single biggest piece of healthcare, right? So there's a lot of crappy healthcare, but the difference between look, you want the best cardiologist, you want the best whatever, but the average cardiologist could get most of it done. But right now, there's no even average nutritional information. So today, when you go to the doctor, you could go to the doctor 10 times, 5 times for a regular checkup, 1 time for ear pain, 1 time for heart pain, whatever. And in all 10 times, whether it's a wellness visit or a sick visit, nutrition will be brought up 0. And that happens all the time. And so I think tonight's conversation, I'm looking forward to learning a lot. We try to educate ourselves, like me and the doctors I work with, but it's a long road because we didn't have a foundation. And by the way, there's a lot of misinformation too.
Yeah.
And so before we open it up for questions, I know we got a million questions, but
Yeah.
before we do that, Chris, I don't know if you ever watched this, but what we like to do is get kind of the journey of the guests, like your background, how you found, your passion. Just walk us through how you got to where you are.
So basically, so food is, many of us, obviously, all of us love food, everyone. But so food has basically been something for me, for my family. So how I started was when I was younger, I would cook for 6 years old. I would go and cook for my mother. And in my family, my uncles cook and garden, my aunts cook. And it was just it's always been, I come from a huge family. I think there's a million of us now after all the other, but yeah, so I started with that. And then, I was, after so me and my wife currently right now, we started dating in high school, and she went to school for accounting, and I was like, what do I do? Am I going to go to school? I want to do something that I love. And because I love knowledge, I love learning, but I was like, I want to do something that I love. And I was like, cooking came up, and I started culinary school when she became pregnant with our first daughter when we were 22 years old. And that's kind of how I thank Riley for slipping me into culinary. So that's kind of how it started. And then how I got into health side of it was, so as I mentioned before, so Marissa got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma when we were 24 years old. And I was researching it, and there's some things that say there's genetic markers to it, but a lot of it is environmental. I saw that it was either like older people or like younger women under 30, which I was like, this doesn't make sense. So I really got heavy into what are we actually eating? Like what are we putting in our bodies? And then when you actually dive deeper and deeper into that rabbit hole of, you know, your artificial coloring, your red 40, your yellow 5, and then you look into like sugar, and you look into even just like I have chickens in my backyard, and people think it's the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But like grocery stores weren't really around in the early 1900s. So
Right.
it's like only been one generation or two from that. So yeah, so that's kind of how I got into it. I mean, and I love food. Like I've been very heavy before. I'm like skinnier now, but I always go back and forth. So I definitely use food as like my therapy, my friend. So, but yeah, so that's kind of how I got into it. It's just been always the in my family. It's always just been. It's like I was telling him before we started. I use like how someone will go and paint. I will use food as like my outlet. Like
That's cool.
literally therapy. Like that's what it is for me. So
And what do you food now is a profession for you as well?
yes,
Correct?
yes.
Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Oh yeah. So I own a company called Real Foods. I started when I think we're on year 8. So it's a meal prep company. I like to say health food online business, but it's really just a meal prep company. It's just I say that because it's a flooded market now. There's some dime a dozen now. But yeah, so I started that basically to give. I realized there's a good niche market back then and still now of people don't know how to cook anymore. People aren't into their food as much anymore. Like, you know, there's a rise now with it. There's a anti-seed oil, artificial flavors, whatever. Yeah, so I own Real Foods, and then I did that during the weekends, and then I worked as a chef during the week. Now I'm into like consulting for restaurants. But yeah, so Real Foods, we do everything from scratch. All of our sauces, we use no seed oils, we use no artificial, nothing, and that's why we can keep our price point actually pretty low, is because we do everything from scratch. So yeah, so that's
And
what I do now.
do you have like a website?
Yeah, so iwantrealfoods.com, and if you go, I'm sure we'll have our
Yeah.
social medias connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you go there, and I actually have I forget what the code was. We have a code that for everyone who's watching this. Let me write it down.
And can a
Sorry.
family, is it like industrial clients or like individuals can get this food?
So individuals, we supply gyms. So we supply a few gyms locally. We have families who order. We have these. I just introduced monthly subscriptions, which like you kind of get more bang for your buck, and you kind of set it and forget it, which a lot of people are into. Which I wish I would have known, like prior to just introducing it. Yeah, so you can set it and forget it, and you basically you can order a la carte. So you can order one meal to try out. And it's still kind of, you get the local business vibe. It's not like your HelloFresh and your stuff like that.
Right.
Excuse me. Yeah, so it's basically it's local.
So if a family, like let's say there's two partners and they got 2 kids and they're busy and 3 nights out of the week, like they're fine on weekends, whatever, but like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday kind of thing, they don't have time.
Yeah, that's the majority of my customers.
So it could be like a family of 4 that says, hey, there's going to be 4 of us. And what does it get delivered? Or?
Yeah, so we do delivering. So we do local delivery and pickup out of Secaucus now. Our kitchen's in Secaucus. We do have the equipment to start shipping like countrywide, but like that's kind of a whole animal. I'm gonna get there eventually, but I mean, I just had my 3rd daughter 4 months ago. And it's like I'm waiting a little bit. But yeah, so we do local delivery. How we do our delivery routes is we get so if say someone from 20 miles away wants to order, we'll say to them, okay, so we'll open up to you, and then we kind of try to push to that market. So we'll get a gym over there where they can do pickups, or we'll pick up to them.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And I think we should just jump into it.
Yeah, we have a ton of questions. I wanted to ask this one first. This is a good one. They asked, is organic a BS label, or does it make a difference?
That's a great question. I wonder the same thing.
So organic.
Hold on, there's 2 parts to it. Have heard sometimes it means something and sometimes it doesn't. Very confused. Me and my family try to eat healthy. Can you help clarify?
Okay, so unfortunately, organic is a BS label. There's if you look, there is an actual like I forget exactly what it is, but if you look in the corner, there's a little let's say like USDA, whatever the heck. Technically, everything is organic. You know, pesticide free is another one you could look for, but it is a price gimmick. Like you'll go or like a sales tactic. Like you'll see things like gluten free rice or like it's the same play with gluten free. So my advice to eating healthy is really to research and source. Like don't just go by the label because it's the same thing for. Think of like a commercial. They want to grab your eyes, so they see organic buzzword, gluten free. But like gluten is bread products. So like why are you labeling something gluten free that doesn't even have bread in it? So like that's kind of the same thing with organic. And now that we obviously have the internet and the resources to look stuff up, anything that you buy, I would really look into because we're in a time period right now where listen, the generations, like our generation isn't really close to food as much as we should be, as much as we have been. Like how many people do we really know that have chickens or beehive in their backyard? Not many, you know, which that was the norm not too long ago. So I would just really just research. So when you buy something, research the brand, research where they come from. It's better to support smaller because, you know, a lot of things are funneled into these huge companies that we don't even realize, like our breads and all that. So yeah, just research.
So just on a practical basis, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm listening, I'm like, okay, so don't trust this. Like, what do I trust? Like, and let's just say I'm not going to go like to Google for every food I buy, right? Is it? I guess is it like go to the local farmers market only? Like, what's the what? That's what not to do.
So this is another thing that if you get too into it, I was telling him earlier too. It can create actually another animal of like almost I don't want to say eating disorder, but almost like what do I do? What can I do? So I go by like when I have that feeling, I'll go by 80-20. I'll be like, okay, 80-20 rule. So like 80% of the time I'm going to be a little bit more like, you know, Google blah blah blah. 20% of the time, whatever, you know. Cuz then if you're too much into like making sure everything you ingest is good, then you come into mental because that's another thing too. Mental and what you ingest. What you ingest and your mental should also be insane.
So
you know,
when you are not, I mean, this is probably not very common. When you're not like, let's say you're not using the product from your property. You're not using the chicken or the avocado on your farm and your property. And you go to a grocery store. Where do you go and what do you get?
So what I will do, and just I don't want to say it's because I have an eye for it, but what I will do is I know how meat should look. I know to look at the fish's eye to see like if it's glossy or not. I know.
Wow.
So that's how I am. Even the vegetables, like I'll know I can just because I've had my hands in the dirt. And that's kind of what I push for. I push for get your hands in the dirt. Like maybe go take a family trip to a farm and like kind of see what it's like, or even start a tiny little garden. We live in the garden state right now.
Yeah.
I know one of the questions was about gardening. Like it's so easy to grow food here.
Yeah.
Like my garden is on my side is like literally I think 3 feet across and 10 feet down, and I had enough food to where I had my neighbors coming over and like picking food.
Wow.
Corn, tomatoes, popcorn I grew. It's so easy. Broccoli, cabbage, kale. So like that's kind of what it is. Once you kind of get your hands in it, you can kind of see, oh, okay. And then that also like so when I go to a food store, like say I go to like a generic food store, I look at their stuff and I'm like, oh no. I'm like, okay, like this is why we go.
Because you've built expertise.
Yeah.
And then how about farmers markets?
Farmers markets are great. They are great. And that's so farming also. I didn't mention this in my whole like story. So I was part of a co-op of a farm. I like kind of ran their social media. I'm also an animal person. I mean, I have dogs, cats, chickens, the whole nine. So I had emus, which I fell into, which are relative of the ostrich, and I had them.
Napoleon Dynamite, right?
Yeah, no, that was llamas.
Llamas, okay.
But yeah, that's next.
Got it.
I'll be making my own clothes soon. But no, yeah. So I fell into this co-op farm experience too, which I learned a lot, and that's why I kind of pushed that. Go a day, and farm. So what I was gonna say, farming in itself is a dying industry. Yeah. Like farmers right now, the average age of a farmer, I think, I don't know if it's New Jersey or America, is like 68.
Right.
which is like, okay, so then what happens? What do? We
You have industrial farming now,
yeah, that's what we do. They're literally industrial farming.
which are constantly being discovered to be poisonous and
Horrible. Even chickens. So the labeling, back to the organic labeling, the labeling on chickens, when you see cage free, the FDA, so per chicken is 1 square foot it's 1 square foot per chicken you're allowed to legally have, like, and that's how it works. So when you say cage free, they could be in a huge shed on their own, you know, like their own like filth, and we're buying it being like, oh, this is a cage free chicken.
Right.
But like, so like, it's really, and that's where it's hard. Like, you have to do the work.
Right.
You're putting this into your body, you know? So like, that's kind of,
so the labels, even the ones that sound good, are pretty worthless.
yep. It's really the research that you do. And it's really, which is kind of a good thing, because then you're putting back into the farmer. You're going to research. There's a few apps that I mean, I know we were talking about that too before. There's a few apps that like will tell you, but you have to also, everything in life is balance. So you have to also make sure you can't fall too much into the rabbit hole of like everything is bad, because then you're doing yourself a mental injustice. So like, that's kind of,
What's a good app?
So there's, let me actually, sorry, I have my phone, but let me, I forget what the app was called for the, it's like something like pineapple or something. But let me.
And what does it do? Like,
So you put your product up and it'll tell you, I think it grades it like red, green, yellow.
you can just take a picture.
Take a picture of it at the store.
That's useful.
Yeah, yeah. I have to find out what the app is called. If you can find, if you have,
Yeah.
'cause I have
That's
service
great.
down here. But yeah, that does help. So a lot of people I know use that. I don't use it, but I have used it before, and I was like, okay, this is good. But I can see, to the layman's eye, it's good. For me, like, I don't even really, like, I'll go out to restaurants, but like really good restaurants where I know the chef, or I know like where they're sourcing their ingredients from. Like, I like my own food, genuinely, you know, not to be, you know, hubris. But yeah, so that's the thing for people who aren't in the industry or growing their own food.
It's called, sorry, cut you off, figs.
Figs. Yes, I said melon.
FIG.
Yeah,
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
it's great.
It's for somebody like at like a normal level.
Yeah,
You want
so
some
it's
decent. Yeah.
pretty cool. So it takes a picture of the food. It says, it puts a green line, can eat, limit this, avoid, and then it will say gluten-free, walnut allergy, low histamine, corn allergy, red 40 sensitivity, low food map, dairy-free,
Nice.
fructose intolerance.
beautiful. That is
And
beautiful.
and checks off or it doesn't have a check.
All right. So that's a practical like.
Start.
For the everyday person.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's next, Mo?
Next question. This is a good one. Someone asked, and we probably already know the answer after 10 minutes into this conversation. Which fast food chain is good to eat from?
I like these questions.
Which fast food is good to eat from?
Least bad.
Yeah,
Better way to
well,
put it.
so you're getting, and not to be too anti like seed oil and stuff, but I am that. You're getting, nothing is, so let's actually call it, which fast food is best to eat from in an 80-20 balance, and you're 20% when you're just going. I would say, actually, is Chipotle considered fast food?
I think so.
Would you consider? I would say Chipotle.
Yeah.
I
You're
would
a
say
big
Chipotle.
guy.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
Chipotle.
I would say Chipotle is pretty good. What tastes the best versus what's the best for you that's the real issue. Like, I don't know if you ever researched the McDonald's French fries potatoes, like how they all work.
No, tell me.
Oh, it is crazy. Like, I've only dived into it a little bit because I'll get too into like one of those rabbit holes, and then I'll be researching it too much, and I'm just like, and then I'm like, I have an existential crisis. But they have a what is it? They have a what's the word? A patent on their potatoes, and I'm pretty sure they're grown, like they're not even potatoes anymore. Right. It's crazy. Like, the system is absolutely nuts. But that's how you get that McDonald's crunch, saltness, and all that.
Right.
You know. But yeah, so I would say Chipotle, and I would also say, Chipotle. I would just say Chipotle. We'll keep it clean on Chipotle. I like Chick-fil-A. They close on Sundays. I do like Chick-fil-A, but you're still getting, so that seed oil too. I know that's a big thing. You've probably heard of it recently too. Like, our bodies are not supposed to intake that much of a seed. So like, our bodies actually, the inflammation that happens inside of us is crazy. So like that's kind of where, and everything's deep fried, and unfortunately deep fried food is the best tasting, most moist, like that texture. That's like what we love, you know. So that's why I'm kind of like not big on Chick-fil-A because of how good it is tasting, you know, because then you go from 80-20 to 50-50 and you're like, oh God, what am I doing? So, but yeah, I would go with Chipotle.
It is.
I'll go
Chipotle it
Chipotle.
is.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is a good one. Someone asked, do you prefer the animal protein or the vegetable protein?
So that's a hot topic because I did go through a little vegan phase when we were younger, but animal protein for sure. You know, like our teeth, we're built for animal. I have friends that have had issues with their stomach, colitis, what's the other one, Crohn's disease, and there's this thing. I'm not to endorse anything, but there's a thing called the Lion's Diet, which they literally cut everything out but animal protein. There's people that like their arthritis goes away and all this crazy stuff happens. So I am pro animal. I'm pro ethical animal protein. You know, like when I so for my chickens in my area, you can't have roosters. So like when we harvest our chickens, like it's done in a way that I'm sure. I mean, I know halal, and I know that our ancestors also did this way. It's done in a peaceful way. It's the circle of life feeling type. So like that's what I agree with. I don't agree with like the factory farming. So so in New Jersey, it's town by town, and there's limits. So like the town I grew up in, North Arlington, they're almost passing it where they can, but the town right next door, you can have chickens, and some you can have roosters. In the town I'm from, you can't have a rooster, but you can have a goat, you can have emu, you can have a cow if you have enough space. You can so it's like the rules are weird because you have to remember the generations before us were only doing farming, so they kind of like came in and were like let's not do farming anymore. So like the rules and the laws and stuff are different. Yeah.
This is a good question, especially since the season we're in. Someone asked, what is your go-to meal for making someone when they are recovering from a cold, flu, etc.?
Big soup. Big soup guy. So big bone broth guy. Like I'm very like my middle daughter, she's 3 years old, you know, Charlotte. She's actually going through a little thing right now. And I swear, and I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, I'm pretty sure there is science to chicken noodle soup. Like, I'm pretty sure that there is, right?
Yeah.
There's something that, whatever it is. But yeah, so I'll go for, recently I've been big into like your, kind of Greek, lemony, garlicky.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, you have to, because garlic has I forget what the chemical in garlic is, like lysine or something like that. Yeah. These things have healing properties in them that are just, and then who doesn't want to, especially in this weather, warm up with like a nice soup, like a nice hearty soup. You know, you have your vegetables in there, you got your carrots, you got you all of your stuff in there.
Do you
so
do red meat stuff?
I do red meat.
I see you say chicken a lot, but do you also do red meat?
I actually prefer red meat.
Okay.
Recently.
So you'll have a steak.
I will have a steak.
Okay.
But I used to be, so I have like, I mean, I hate to say stomach issues because I firmly believe that things are healable through food as well and through introduction. But yeah, no. So recently, so my diet changes over time, always. So like I kind of listen to my body and I'm like, okay, we're not going to do gluten anymore. Or like we're not going to do sugar. We're going to do more chicken or we're going to do more fish. But now I'm in a red meat phase right now for sure. Like right now I'm thinking of red meat and I'm like, I could use a nice steak, skirt steak. But some people are against red meat because of digesting. It's a little harder to digest for some.
But it's also different for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It's different for everybody. Where you come from, too, which is crazy.
It's a good question. Someone asked, what's a healthy snack that kids can have?
A healthy snack that kids can have. So this is another kind of topic where for me, like my daughters, I have a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 4.5-month-old. My 7-year-old like eats sushi and oysters and like all this stuff. So like I have to like kind of take myself out of my shoes and be like go to like the regular non-chef parent. But I would say if you go with like apples, and if you tell a kid like, so my middle daughter was always challenging eating, so we call dates candy. Like, you want candy? And like for some reason that works. But a healthy snack would be your apples, your cheeses are good, you know, like little things like that. And like fruits really, because pretty sure the first year of life, something I've researched this too, like our taste buds or like something about our digestive, like we actually go for fruit a little bit, or like the second year of life or something like that. So I would go for like your fruits, nothing processed, because then they go into that. You can fall into the pit of like, my kid only eats macaroni with butter, so it's like you want to introduce them and your vegetables, and kind of with kids and snacks, how I like to do it is make it like a really like cool experience. Like, like really like carrots are good for your eyes, like you can see it, like stuff like that. So
I think that's the key, because I think the person asking like, what's a good snack, I think they already know the answer. I think they know. The trick is like, I think, Chris, that last part, like I get families that like, Z, exactly what you said about the mac and like, I mean, all day, right? Well,
mac and cheese.
All I hear is like, my 4-year-old won't. And it's sometimes it's ironic, because they'll come in with a 4-year-old who's off the charts in size, and they're like, Dr. Baker, he's a picky eater. I'm like, what? They're like, no, doc, I swear, blah, blah, blah. He won't eat this. So what they mean is he's not a picky eater. He'll eat a lot of whatever he wants. And so parents are stuck with like one of three options, right? One is to like just not let the kid have anything he wants, and he's only allowed to have broccoli or nothing, like a militant kind of approach. The other approach is to give in, which the majority do. And then the third is what you said, which is like a creative solution.
It's the best way.
And very few people do it. And so I mean, you tell me what you think.
Really, very few people do that.
Very few.
That's so surprising.
Right? Well, nobody does.
So surprising.
So I'm always saying YouTube has there's some nutritionist type people who are really creative, I've noticed, on social media, who can be like, put the vegetables in certain shapes or whatever.
Like the bluey dog I saw recently. Yeah.
But what you said is the key is like, I never actually heard that specific point where you say carrots can make your eyes like the carrots.
That's what I do. So I'll relate it. So what I'll do is kind of like dumb down the actual nutritional value of it and kind of make it, I know we like to say positive reinforcement, but really use that and like make it like really cool. And if you have multiple kids, you can actually like hone in on the jealousy. Like, look at, she ate all this, like blah, blah, blah. So I kind of do that too. But I'm surprised I mean, I actually am not surprised, because I have a lot of friends who have kids and family members and cousins who like struggle with that. Like, my kid only eats bagels. And I'm like, but it's, so that's really what it is. Because I relate to kids and puppies are the same. Like, you think they're so less smart and like don't want to push the envelope, but they do. Like, even my newborn, or she's an infant now actually, they'll push the envelope. They're smarter than what we think. They're a kid. What they say inside is even more. So like, you can really get creative with that. Sure. I love that. That's cool.
Next question. I think this is the best question. Question is, so this is how it starts. Hi, Christopher. It's your mother. You look great. My question is, did you mean you actually cooked for me at the age of 6? Wait, did you mean you cooked with me or for me at the age of 6?
I mean, I would bring, she knows exactly what I mean by that. My mother is still, we kind of battle a little bit, because she's a great cook. She's like me.
Okay.
But she's stuck in the, where we argue a little bit in cooking is like, she like thinks like this certain pan like has flavor in it, which I'm like, okay, whatever. But no. So when I would cook eggs, Mom, if you're watching, when I would cook eggs for you in the morning and the concoctions, and I'm pretty sure she has good acting skills, I think, because she would eat my food and she'd be like, yum. Like, I would bring her, like, that was my favorite thing to do. Like, if I would wake up early, like say it was like a weekend or whatever, I love to like make her scrambled eggs, but with every single thing that like all the leftovers from the fridge, like chopped up broccoli and like this and that in it. There's an Italian dish actually. It's I forget what it's called. But it translates to everything in your fridge in your eggs. So I would do that. But she did the cooking, and I would watch. And the reason
that's your inspiration.
That's my inspiration. Well, her mother is my inspiration, but she's also up there too with cooking. She's got it's. I do almost think it's a gene thing too. Like, she has it. Yeah. She has it.
Is that the first parent calling out guests?
Yeah.
It is.
Would be my mom. She's that.
Mom has one more statement.
Oh God.
Yes, you did on Mother's Day or a Sunday.
Yeah, see?
It's better than most.
Yeah, right? And she's comfortably in Florida right now too, trying to convince me to move down there. So she's not enjoying this winter as we are. God almighty.
Next question. I think someone's coming at your chickens. No, I'm kidding. The question is.
Oh God.
That's awesome.
First start off with, hey Z, I remember you from your resident day on 3 Conklin.
3 Conklin.
Probably a floor in a hospital somewhere.
Yeah. Chris is my cousin. This is Denise. He's
Oh,
here
Denise
from
is
way
so-
back.
Oh yeah.
That's my mom's cousin, Denise.
That's great.
Yeah. Also,
In Hackensack, Hackensack, yeah.
Molly. So we were supposed to deliver Riley in. It was called Meadowlands back in the day.
Sure.
Molly.
Cavalli?
Yeah. So she was like, I've known him since
Like
he
my
was
family.
little.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's
They're like family.
We've been connected with her since. She gives a tour, and we always randomly see, like, we saw each other at the mall the other day.
Yeah.
And she was like,
They're
tell
great
him I've
people.
known him.
Yeah.
Small world.
That's great.
It's such a small world.
But next question. Someone asked, at one time, eating eggs was not good. Saw somewhere else that eating eggs is good. What's your opinion on eggs?
My opinion on eggs is it is one of the most nutrient dense foods that we can have. The protein, all of this. I know that it's horrible for your cholesterol. It's good for your cholesterol. Same thing as coffee. Coffee is good. Coffee's bad. Coffee's good. Coffee's bad. I think just like Dr. Z was saying, like some people can eat red meat, some people can't. I genuinely thrive on eggs. My kids thrive on eggs. So it is what it is. That's kind of the thing too, like that's hard in this industry or in general, just being human in America, is the contradictions. Same thing for going to the gym really too. Like you'll see like workout routines that work this way and then you'll see a contradiction. It's kind of just really, you have to really look at it in yourself. Trial and error, slowly, and then sticking to the 80-20. 80-20 is my big thing.
Nice.
So.
Next question. Someone wanted to know your thoughts on dairy versus almond or coconut milk.
So
Great question.
these are really good questions. So now, again, as I told you, my diet evolves, which we all should. We all should be as we learn, as we feel, as we age.
Sure.
I'm going to be 30 in May, so I'm sure that's going to come with a lot of digestive things. But so I am now pro good milk, meaning from a cow. Like there is hormones, and if it's not ethically sourced, like what is the cow eating? Because you eat what your food eats, really. But a lot of, because I was very big on oat milk. I make my oat milk myself, which is so easy. If you go on YouTube, it is so easy to make. You milk the oat. So
you make your own
oat milk. Yeah. No, so
how do you make oat milk?
So all that oat milk is you do, I think it's equal parts water and oats, blend, and then you put it through, it's called a cheesecloth or a sieve, and then that is oat milk.
Okay.
But what they're doing, what is happening with this whole oat milk and almond milk is the oils that are in it and like the extra ingredients, which is basically with everything. So like I kind of also live by the 3 ingredient rule. If I'm going to the store and I'm buying a processed, we'll say 3 to 5, but really for me it's 3. If I'm going to the store and I'm buying a processed thing, anything is a process. Technically, my business is a process. Like I'm cutting your food for you. But so if you go and there's more than 3 ingredients, that's when you kind of are like, okay, what else is in this? And if it's like a laundry list of 3, we'll say 5. 3 is a little bit like 3 is whole foods, really. 3 ingredients in a food item is a whole food, really. But if you say 5 for your processed food, your snacks, your granola bars, your this, your that, then you're okay. But if you start seeing a laundry list of all these words you can't even pronounce, these colorings of this and that, put it back on the shelf,
Nice. That's a good question. What's the best supermarket / grocery store to shop at?
So I'm not sponsored. No, I'm just kidding. So I definitely love Trader Joe's just because, because I love Trader Joe's. I love Whole Foods is good. Little pricey, but good. Trader Joe's I love. But you can now, health food is infiltrating your ShopRites, your Stop and Shops, your everything. So you can really find some good stuff if you weed through. But on the flip side of that, the big corporations are kind of taking the health food labels and kind of, but the best advice for me if I was to tell everyone what to do for their shopping, go find a couple families, go to a farm, get a quarter cow or a whole cow. It runs you like less than $2,000 for a whole cow. You get enough food, you get a deep freezer, you get enough food for the year for your family on a quarter cow. You go and source, we live in the Garden State, there's farms everywhere, especially like Northwest and in the South. Not really our area. There's one, I'll give a shout out to them. They are, what is it? Closter Farms. They're good. So go and maybe source that way. But if you're going to go to a regular store, Trader Joe's is great. Whole Foods is great. I'm just a Trader Joe's guy though.
Can you go back to the cow? So I could see like once a week, you go make like a vegetable run on a farm.
Yeah.
But what do you mean get a quarter of a cow? I don't know.
You don't
where
know.
to start with
Oh my gosh. So, and this was a normal practice too, previous. So there's farms right now in New Jersey, in Pennsylvania, like really everywhere. And even online, you can get them shipped if you're really into like your meats, like you can get like Wagyu or whatever. But so you go and you can pay for a quarter cow, a half cow, or a whole cow, and you pay for so you get all the chopped meat, everything of the cow, butchered, sent to your door, or pick up.
And when it
freeze
comes,
it.
is it cut up or it's
Cut up already and everything.
okay,
Yeah.
You're not like putting quarter of a cow in your freezer.
No.
So it's chopped up.
Chopped up, and like you get and you could do it same for like if you eat pork, you can do the same thing for pig. You can get the same thing.
How is that different? Like, what if I go to a butcher in like Patterson, right? You know, the butcher's.
So it's the same idea. So if you go to a butcher in Patterson, you're not going to be getting so like the idea of getting a quarter cow is to not have to shop. So you do the one purchase or a half cow, and then you have it in your freezer, you're good.
Okay.
But if you go to a butcher, same thing. Support your
Just
local
go
butchers.
once a week or whatever.
Yeah, once a week, and that's the best thing to do too. Supporting these, because this is a dying breed.
Yeah.
Butcher. When I originally went to culinary school, I actually wanted to be a butcher because I've always been into like, I mean, it's kind of morbid, but I've always loved animals, and I'm kind of like, how do they work, and like how I love sustainability.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing. Sustainability. How can I grow and raise my own food?
Yeah.
So I worked at this place called Charles and Hudson in the city as like an internship right while I was in culinary school, and we were carrying a whole cow. Well, it was a quarter of a cow, but it was like how you're thinking of it into the store, and we were processing it. So like that's kind of what to do. Going to a butcher, you can go on your weekly. Find a good butcher. And that is the best thing to do. I'm glad you brought that up. That is, support them. Don't support, not to tell people what to do, but it's better to support. You're going to get better health from people from a smaller space than something that's shipped from God only knows where so.
That's good advice.
My mom's been going to the same butcher for like the past 15 years.
Yeah.
Boom.
Parents do the whole cow thing.
Your parents do?
They go with like 5 of their friends. Like my dad goes with like 5 of his friends.
I never heard of this.
The
Me
cow's
neither.
like $2,000. They go once a month.
That's the smartest. I'm trying to find if we can exchange information after, because I don't have.
My dad where he goes.
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't have friends that want to do it. So that's another thing too. I don't come from, my family, we're lucky if some of us have dogs. Like, I'm this way, but like I don't come from, and my friends too, like I don't really have any animal. I have a few that I've met through, animal world, but like I don't have people that are like, yeah, let's go and get a quarter cow. So that's the best way to do it,
That's awesome.
especially economically.
2,000.
Exactly.
People with like $200.
And you're getting pounds and pounds and pounds of steak and beef. Yeah. And if you go to a good farm, grass-fed, grass-finished, like, because that's another thing, another mission of mine too, not to, is you are what your food eats.
Right.
So like that's another thing too. Even if it's it might be a little too hippy-dippy, but like even how your food feels, like you're ingesting what they are, So
Yeah.
But
This is a good question. And I'm curious on your opinion. Someone asked, what are your thoughts on the necessity of vitamins or supplements to have thoughts on the necessity of vitamins or supplements if you have a balanced diet?
So that's another hot topic too, because you kind of pee out all the vitamins after. But I think it's good. That's kind of your perspective thing. I think it's good. I don't know too much about vitamins. Like I take them, so in the winter I'll take vitamin D because like I did definitely get a little bit seasonal depression because I'm an outdoors type of person, and when it's too cold, I'm just like, I want to stay in my bed,
Yeah.
So like I've read that vitamin D and I've heard, and it's actually helped. But yeah, I've heard conflicting things about vitamins. What is your thing?
I mean, my take is similar. I think the way I look at it is vitamins. The way I look at it is this: is there's stuff that we do today in health and wellness that I'm pretty confident in. If someone watched us talk in 15 years about it, they would be like, they know what they're talking about. So, for instance, if I'm worried you're anemic and I check your hemoglobin, it is what it is, what it is. That's like pretty reflective of your iron and and hemoglobin level. And if it's 8 now, I need to fix it. Just like in 2040, I'll have to. If I'm worried you have pneumonia, the way we did it 10 years ago is the way we do it today is the way we're going to do it in 30 years. It's pretty straightforward. Now, a lot of things, probably most things are not in that category. So, for instance, and then I'll answer the question directly, but like you talked about inflammation. I know people I take care of, like straight up. I have like teenagers. This is true. I have teenagers that got diagnosed with JIA, which is juvenile idiopathic arthritis or lupus in teenagers.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, and then they'll go to like CHOP, which is like the #1 children's hospital in the country. They'll go to Boston, and they're on these chemo meds, and it's screwing them up. And I have many of those. I do have many that get better, but a lot of them get screwed up with heavy duty meds. We're not good at these autoimmune things, and I have a handful of these patients where suddenly they go on a pure keto diet or a pure animal line diet, and they're 95% better.
Boom.
And somebody who hears this and is like, really, it was not when I started. I'm not the oldest guy in the world. When I started, the term gluten-free diet when I started didn't exist. You could practice forever. Now, doctors, we run celiac panels all day
Boom.
on patients who have. So, what we're talking about now in terms of vitamins, I think, is in this big bucket of stuff that we act like we know and we don't. And what I mean by that is this: I do think that just like some people are going to be better with meat versus not, I think we probably all sitting here can benefit from some vitamin.
Yeah.
The thing is, we all pop the same vitamin, multivitamin, but we probably have different needs. Like you're crushing it with eggs or carrots, so you don't need vitamin A. I haven't eaten a carrot in 10 years, so I could probably benefit from vitamin. So, but we both take the same multivitamin, and so I think what will happen with time is we'll have what's called more precision medicine, where you'll have like a test. You'll say, Z, run my whatever biochemical profile, and we'll say, oh, this. It's like probiotics,
Like catered more towards.
yeah, because all of our biomes are different. They're different genetically, and then they're different based on the stuff we put in our system. And to then assume that like the same multivitamins appropriate, I think it's simplistic. 90% of the people I know take vitamins and they're fine, and half the time they tell me they feel better. I don't know, probably some of it because some of it hits. Like
Yeah.
some of it hits. But
That's what I was going to ask you too. I was going to say, what do you think about the multivitamin thing? It's also, not to cut you off, but it is amazing to hear doctors speak this way. Like it is really like, it's beautiful that you're doing this. Like it is, because as
saying
you
I
said,
don't know.
no, saying, but like admitting,
screwing around,
because
I'm screwing
but for real, because I went through. So you have to understand, like I went through when Marissa had this. So she was stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I don't want to shout out whatever the hospital, whatever. So she was for 20 days. She went straight into chemo. And for 20 days, she had a fever. She was basically, I mean, she got down to 87 pounds. And I was like, we need to I knew, before this, I knew how food was. I was like, we need to get food in. And the doctor said to me that she's like, if she drinks an Ensure, which is like that pink drink, if she drinks an Ensure and like, if that's all she has, that's good enough. Like almost like offended that I was like, food is also medicine. So it's so refreshing to hear a doctor actually say that, because I guess because the lack of training in doctors with nutrition, which is crazy to me too.
It's crazy
because she said that to me.
and it hasn't been much fixed.
Yeah.
Like right now we teach.
That's crazy.
Oh, how many med students and residents do we have? And they don't take classes in that. They take the same classes I took. So you would think at least by now we've learned. We haven't.
I would think for me as not a doctor, I would think that would be the first thing you're learning about.
It should be the main thing.
Yeah.
That should be-
anatomy and what we put into the anatomy.
Yeah, for
Cool.
sure. And we know this is not like groundbreaking. We know that more than half the deaths, and more than half of the diseases in America, more than half are related to diet. Like what more do you need to so then the dean of the medical school at like whatever hears that and he's like, nope, let's still spend, zero time on nutrition. It's actually nuts. I mean, if anything, like the folks like you who understand diet and stuff should be the main kind of driver of healthcare. And then folks like me or whoever should,
It's a balance of both.
yeah,
It should really be both of those.
Yeah.
So let's work together. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll come to your restaurant for sure.
Yeah, right. But I fully agree, and it's very refreshing. And it's also too, as you said, like 2040 and stuff. Like seeing this coming from a doctor, like that gives me hope. Like I know a lot of people are like to be like, like they like to have a negative view on it, but seeing this, I mean, that's an amazing thing. Like that's beautiful.
Thanks.
I mean, this was, what were we, 6 years ago when we went through with Marissa, and to see now to speak to a doctor like this, it's great. It's great. I'm sold.
Hey, great.
Nice. Next question comes from a chef. Actually, she said,
Comes from a chef.
"Yeah."
Oh,
Nice.
God.
She said, "As a chef, how can the non-chef community make our own baby food without all the preservatives? Can you share some of your favorite recipes?"
That's a great question. So I have my 3 kids. One is going to be 8. One is above a fetus now. She's 4 months. I have never, not one single time, bought baby food. And it really is so simple. So it's literally a puree. So when you're making baby food, and I'm sure you know this too, well, it's also changed a little bit too, because as parenting does, like, can they sleep on the side? Can they sleep on
Yeah.
the back? Can they sleep on their belly? Whatever. Now, so my new one, my third daughter, we introduced with meat and vegetables first. My first 2, we did avocado and just vegetables, but I realized meat was actually, now I'm into the meat. But it's all about consistency. You got a good mixer, you cook your food whole. So whether it's, you're going to use things that are easy to digest, your sweet potatoes, your butternut squash, your green stuff, so your spinach, whatever. How we started, because luckily Marissa, all my kids were
Breastfed.
predominantly breastfed. So we would mix a little bit of the breast milk in with it, but it's all about texture. So like if it's too chunky, add more liquid. If it's not, so that's what it is. And then you don't need preservatives. You cook, and a baby's stomach is what? This
Yeah,
big. So
yeah.
you need to make a tablespoon at first.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I recommend that too. Making your own kids. I have actually had in the back of my mind for real foods, just because I see how much parents are struggling with kids and with babies, mostly actually the toddlers and the grade school kids.
Yeah.
I was thinking about launching, I have a whole plan for it too. Kids like healthy, lunchable type vibe.
That's a great idea.
And healthy baby food.
Yeah.
So.
And I agree with you. The struggle, the baby food thing, I find people are more focused on it
Mhm.
because like, oh, I'm going to feed my kid now.
Mhm.
And then if I see them at
That's
like
off.
6-9 months, it's like, but where they then get hit over the head is the 3-year-old, 4-year-old
Yep.
toddler, where the kid won't eat anything or only wants the back to the mac and cheese thing. And so I think if you were able to offer some healthy, lunchable kind of solutions, like on the go, even back to that snacks question,
Mhm.
because like if you could make a celery fun,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
Even give like like say if it's like a peel off, like a direction for parents, like
Yeah.
tell them blah blah blah
Yeah,
X,
yeah,
Y,
yeah.
and Z.
Yeah.
Because I go through it. Listen, I'm a chef, and yes, my 8-year-old might eat oysters and sushi and like everything. But we go through, the reason why we go through that as 3-year-olds and 2-year-olds is because texture, and like
Yeah.
we also are learning, like, think about it, like, so when you're a 3-year-old, you're kind of knowing like, oh, like, no, like I can actually take a stand, and like
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
like that's what's going on with my Charlotte, my daughter, my 3-year-old. She is now eating, and I'm sure a lot of parents can, and I'm sure you've seen this too, there's this like parent guilt that you get, that like my kid's not eating, like, oh my God, my kid's not
Every
eating.
parent
like,
I've
what
ever
is
taken
going
care
on?
of.
Every
Yeah.
parent,
Yeah.
every day.
So like that is something, it's kind of like where you have to take okay, there's starving children,
Right.
it's kind of
Right.
like, okay, and then get creative with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I go through that too as a chef. Like I
Yeah.
go through with my 3-year-old, and on the flip side, my oldest, I was in culinary school while she was born, when I was like just graduating.
Right.
So what I did with her, which was kind of, I learned my lesson, was if she didn't like something, I would cook this girl gourmet food. You didn't like it? I'm gonna cook you something else, because I just was so
Yeah.
fresh into
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
culinary
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's another thing too. So it's a balance. Everything is balance, really.
That's great.
Yeah.
Couple more questions. Somebody asked, what foods can I incorporate into my diet for better heart and gut health?
That's kind of both of us.
Sure.
So what would you say?
We had Dr. Davies on cardio, I think, and he was really good on the food questions. I think for heart health, there's areas of debate, and I'll call them out, and then there's areas of less debate. Like the heart, the biggest insults to cardiac well-being are the ones that cause diabetes. So the number one cause of dietary cardiovascular problems, because there's genetics which we can't control, is diabetes, right? When diabetes sucks, and like a quarter of adult Americans have it, right? Well, why does it suck, and what does it do? It affects your blood vessels, which affects your heart. That's like when grandma dies of diabetes, it's cardiac. You know what I mean? So a lot of times I think we think of diabetes as an endocrine disease. It kind of is, but it's very much a cardiac disease. And so high sugar content is terrible across the board for the heart, and it clogs up your arteries. Now, a lot of people who are listening, especially I know a lot of doctors listen, they're going to be thinking, well, atherosclerosis and fatty foods and stuff like that. I'll be honest with you. I have, this is practical. Balance is key, but there's a lot of people I know who have high fat diets, a lot, that don't have diabetes and are doing fine. There's very few people who have high sugar diets, even if they stay away from traditional fats, that are doing fine. And so sugar is really the problem in terms of that. The gut, I think what I just said, here's the controversy on the cardiac, is meat. So you could get great cardiologists who talk about red meat being very bad. And then we talked about, so I think moderation there. But the gut, and then I'm curious what Chris has to say. For the gut, I feel it's a little bit more tricky because of what we said earlier. I know people who have, like, how many times we say someone has a sensitive stomach? That's not the complete story. What you mean is this person has a sensitive stomach to this food, but they don't have it to this. And, you don't think you have a sensitive stomach, but if I gave you these foods you never had, you would. And so in terms of gut health, I think if it doesn't feel good, it's probably not good for you. And you have to kind of trial and error it. And I would say that definitely less processed, less ingredients. I like a lot of the tips Chris said. I'm going to try to use them. But that's my 2 cents on it.
That's exactly. So that's why I wanted to ask it, because I have utmost respect for doctors, obviously, because you went through the schooling and whatever, and you're also awesome. But that's exactly it. Sugar is the issue. So that's, if you look up, I think the number one killer in America is heart disease.
Yep.
So, and it's like sugar, and also sugar is a drug. Like, if you really think about it, like, your body is not meant to think of us through like evolution and like through becoming what we are now. Like, we didn't have access to the amount of sugar that we have now. So like that's doing, and that also segues into the same thing as the inflammation for the seed oils and like everything else. Like, we really have to start going back to basics of like, if you have heart issues, if you're, overweight and like, or even if you're I can't believe teenager with lupus.
Yeah.
Really, maybe like take a look at, yes, you're mental, but like take a look at like, what are you ingesting?
Yeah.
People like to throw it off, and like people like to think, I forget what, there's like there's actually a word for this, that's like, you do things now without realizing what it's going to be in the future. So like, we should really just be like, okay, the future's going to happen. So like, why not start now, so then we can segue into the future and like live a better, healthier life for not only us, our family too. And sugar is the number one. I'm so happy you said that too. And the probiotics too. You, when you prescribe antibiotic, you also say probiotic. That is because
I know I'm screwing up the kid's stomach. And
beautiful.
The one thing that Chris said that made me think, when you talk about the future, also like on a practical basis, a lot of times I get families, and Mo, you're there with me. They come in and they're like, "Hey Z, I really, I get the most organic and the freshest and blah 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 blah," and especially when the kids are very young and the parents are very focused. But what happens is the parents don't realize that if that means nothing if at home the whole family's not eating healthy, because like my kids are grown. They We don't feed them, they feed themselves, and they're going
Yeah.
to eat what's in the house. There's no world that you're going to eat differently than your kid, only in a short term. And so when you talk about the future and eating right for you and your family, that's like more true than people realize. You want your kid to eat well. It has less to do with what you're feeding them today and more with what you're feeding yourself,
Amen.
because
That's
they're going to
exactly
see
the
it.
truth.
That's just the way it is.
That's exactly the truth. And that's why sometimes, because so I fall into this a little bit. Like, excuse me. I like I've noticed like recently. So like if I'm in like in high stress, whatever it is in life, like sometimes like I won't sit down. Like I'll like because I'll be cooking them food, or and like I'll make my wife food. I'll make their plates, and I'll notice for me like because I was cooking, I was kind of eating as I was going, not sitting. I know now that like they have to sit and watch me
Yeah.
eat as well.
Yeah.
You know, so it is what you're doing. You know, that's what we're doing. Really, raising kids. You know,
Yeah, and the
they're looking
opposite.
at you.
Sorry, just because Chris made me think, the opposite of that as a good habit and modeling is what a lot of people do. I've done it, right? So I'm the last person to judge. I'm guilty of more of this crap than anybody. But the truth is, sitting while you eat TV, watch TV as a family, you're, you know, what happens is now you've embedded that habit with your kid, and tomorrow you're not around. Most remember something. Most of your kid's life, you're not there, right? Remember that. Most of your kid's life, you're not there. And so you've instilled a habit where you just kind of eat while you're watching TV, which is probably just as bad as sugar in terms of like the outcome of mindless eating and so on and so forth. And so as a family, I think the dinner table is, and I know people have written books on this, but it's really true how important it is that you guys sit together, and not just from a health standpoint, like we said, but that's where the exchange of ideas happens, because
Boom.
everybody's busy. He's got basketball practice, you got work, but all of you are going to eat. And so there's a perpendicularity of free time because you can't meet each other on other terms necessarily. And that's also when you hear about their days and so on. So I just wanted to call that out.
That's funny that you bring that up too, because literally not last night, the night before, I was talking to my wife about with my mother. So like I come from a family like we were not afraid of conflict. Like we definitely fought and like all of that. But my mother, I don't even know if she realized this, if she's still watching. She is still watching.
She is there filtering. She had 10 more comments.
Yeah,
than
right.
share.
She's ready. Yeah, please.
Your whole family.
Are
That's
they
a
all
beautiful
on?
thing. That's a
Good.
beautiful thing.
Good.
Amanda said hello like 10 times.
Really? Hello. So she really like. I mean, I remember there's been times where like I've done wrong, my siblings have done wrong, but she really made sure like we all sat and ate dinner. Which I don't know if she definitely doesn't know how important that
Yeah.
was. But I talked to Marissa about that 2 days ago because I do fall into my 3-year-old. How I got her to start eating because like she wasn't eating. I'm like,
Yeah.
So I would be like, you want to watch
Right.
Baby Shark, whatever
Yeah,
the heck she
yeah.
likes to watch and eat. And then I was like, my mom, but we also grew up in times where we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have
Yeah.
internet, so that's another balance thing too. It is very good to sit at the table and eat. It really is like you really get to structure yourself
Right.
and your family and like go through your day-to-day things and really like I mean some of my hardest times were at my dinner table
Yeah.
growing up when I think
Yeah,
about it. So
Nice.
yeah, eat together, everyone.
Marissa chimed in as well. She said, Charlotte says hello and she wants to give you a kiss.
Aw.
That's awesome.
Me and Charlotte have been best ever since. So Penelope is our third daughter. Ever since she's been around, me and Charlotte,
Right.
we've been really,
Right.
yeah. Because
That's how it goes.
Riley was my oldest. Was always like she's been like my little prodigy. Like my son, that's a daughter.
Yeah.
Charlotte was. We called her forever fetus. Like she was the koala bear. Like she didn't. I don't even think she knew me until Penelope was born. Now me and Charlotte.
That's
are-
awesome.
Yeah, she's great. Tell her I love her too. So
Yeah.
much. So.
Next question. Someone wanted to know your thoughts on CMOS.
So CMOS, have you gone into CMOS?
Zero.
Okay.
Zero
So I
to-
sell CMOS, and my thing is in business as I'm not good with pushing stuff because I hate to be sold.
Yeah.
But this is something that is so it's 98, either 98% or 98 of the 103 minerals we need to sustain life, wild harvested. It is like. If you really look into Irish or Jamaican sea moss, purple or is it white or yellow? Purple, Irish or Jamaican sea moss. It is if you want to talk vitamins, if you want to talk
And
minerals,
what
and
is this like a garnish? Or
so
what
so
are
no, so basically how it is, so it's seaweed basically in the sea, wild harvested. I turn it into a gel, and you can put it in your coffee or in your sauces, or what I do is take a tablespoom. I should be taking more, because as Dr. Z said, like, as much as I'm health and food, I'm still human, so like whatever. But yeah, so when I do take it, it is, my whole body feels different because you're getting all the actual minerals you need. I really think the number is 98. If you can check, 98 of the 102 or 103 minerals we need. If you look up benefits of sea moss.
And where do you get it?
So we get ours from, we found like, it's the
90
website's really
92 of the 102 minerals.
92 of the 102 minerals that you need.
Crazy.
You feel it. Like, you actually do feel it. We get ours. It only can be wild harvested. You can't. So it's from the sea in Ireland or Jamaica or wherever else. But we get ours from like this little like dinky website that's been doing it, I think.
So it's on the web. You can't.
Yeah,
go
you can
get it.
You can't go get it. I mean, you probably could, but yeah, no, it's on the web, and it comes dried and like almost looks like there should be a dead fish in it. So I have to. So it's dried. I think they sun dry it. So what I have to do is let it soak overnight. I have to make sure to like wash it a couple of times to get all the salt out, and then it'll come back to its its form, how it looks. It literally looks like seaweed, and then I turn it into a gel. And if I, once I have the time, once I stop having so many kids all the time, I would love to turn it into like a gummy or like add more flavor. Because how I sell it now is just like it's basically like tastes like flavorless, slightly salty Jello.
Okay.
But it's so good for you.
I got to read up on that.
Yeah, read up on
Never
it.
read
It's
about
really, 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 really good. Dr. Sebi, I don't know if you're.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so he's big on CMO. So it's like if you have mucus, takes your mucus out. It's really, really good.
Oh, I got to read about that.
Oh, it's
Mo?
so good.
Tomorrow. That's our
Yeah.
homework.
Yeah. If you go, iwantrealfoods.com, you can buy some.
That's great.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
try
yeah,
it out.
Yeah.
And then this one was asked a couple of times. We'll wrap it up because I don't have that many more. Someone asked if you can define farm to table exactly.
So to define farm to table, in my opinion, which I'm sure the opinions vary, but for me, farm to table means, okay, obviously everything comes from a farm, but when I hear farm to table, they know where that animal was from, what that animal ate, whether it's grass fed, grass finished, or grass fed, because those are two conflicting things. Like, if you don't see grass finished, it could have eaten grass once. So farm to table to me means whole food. We know where the farm is, and it's now on my table. For me, that's another buzzword in the industry, is like farm to table, but like your meat is like shipped from here to Brazil to here, and it's like, that's not farm to table, because technically anything, we're all organic, we're all eating farm to table food, obviously if it's over processed, but that's, for me, farm to table is, I know where the farm is, like the establishment knows the farm, and they should, most of them, when they are farm to table, they'll actually give a kind of little snippet of the farm that they go to, or they'll say locally sourced, but that's what it means. Local farm, you know where the farm is, you know what the animal ate, and now it's on my table.
So no like middlemanish.
No middleman, yeah.
That's the whole
Yeah.
vibe I'm getting.
Yes.
Cool. I don't have anything else.
That was pretty
That was
incredible,
good.
no?
Yeah,
good.
that was awesome.
I learned a lot.
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah,
Fun.
Got to
And-
learn about CMOS.
CMOS, but it's like, I think that like the practical stuff, like
Big
first
app.
of all, I would encourage families who are busy, but prioritize their health and understand the value of nutrition, to take Chris up on
Yeah.
try some of his stuff for your family. Like what better investment can you have? Like, I'm definitely going to order stuff for my family.
Please do.
None of us cook.
We have a. I was gonna mention this. Okay, so we have for the month of March. If you use the code Baker15, BAKER 15, all one word, it's 15% off your orders. You can even
Great.
subscriptions. So
Great.
I would recommend it too. Not only to obviously toot my own horn, but like if I benefit from my own stuff. Like, it is so easy just to pop something in the microwave. I actually don't microwave mine too often. Like, I will, because you could even pop it onto your pan,
Right.
saute. It is just, it benefits you. And even if it's, like you said, 3 days a week, 2 days a week, or you're ordering breakfast, lunch, dinner, because I do have people like that.
Yeah.
It just simplifies it. You don't have to do the thinking. All of my meat is grass-fed, grass-finished. All my sauces are made in-house. Like, you know, I am so open. Like, you can message us. You're talking to me or Marissa. Like, my
Wow.
team, yeah, like, even my team, like, my employees, like, are so integrated into real foods.
That's great.
You know?
This
So,
was awesome.
That was awesome.
And I want
yeah.
to thank you for coming out.
I
And
want to thank you for
on,
having
like,
me, man. This was
during the
great.
week. I know you're busy.
Yeah.
And you got a family
Yeah.
that I know very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But I think you helped a lot of people.
Thank
so
you.
I
Thank you,
appreciate it, man.
Before you go, we got one more comment from your mom.
Of course. Of course it
We're-
is.
the Baker Health Talks is a big fan of your mom right now. So
Yeah. Oh, great.
and you should have him on again, and we're very.
I'd love it. I'd love
I would
it.
come.
I'd
will
love
come
it.
Again.
This was awesome.
Yeah, this was great.
Great.
This really was great. Thank you, Mom.
Have a good night, everyone.